welcome. My name is Alyssa Hodges, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. Go to the link on your screen right now and pull up the worksheet. This webinar is interactive, meaning you'll follow along with the worksheet as we go. And when you submit it at the end of this webinar in about 15 minutes, you'll get 2 gifts from me. We have a lot of ground to cover in just 15 minutes, so let's get started. In 2015, I graduated from UMKC with honors, and I started law school the following Monday. During law school, I was on law review and a competitive negotiations team. I also worked for an intellectual property law firm in Overland Park, Kansas. But most importantly, I was a parent. So before and after school and work, I spent as much quality time with my son as I could before he went to bed, and I stayed up to study until 2 or 3 in the morning. My hard work paid off in 2018 when I graduated from law school near the top third of my class. And I went to work for Deloitte for 2 years, and then I decided I wanted to do something to help people on a more personal level. So I took the bar exam and I became licensed in Missouri in 2020. And my goal for practicing law is the same today as it was on day 1 of law school. Work hard, never stop learning, and always remember that family comes first. My why for estate planning actually began back in 2013 when my brother got deathly ill from a rare disease. I was pregnant with my son at the time, and my sister-in-law was pregnant with their first son as well. And our entire family spent as much time at the hospital as we could. It was really scary, and all I could think about was what would happen if my brother didn't pull through. What if their baby grew up not knowing his dad? What if my son grew up not knowing his uncle? It was really scary. Luckily for our family, my brother did pull through, and he's been there for his family. That's them there on the left, and for mine. But the experience left a permanent mark on me. I realized that death is coming for all of us, and it doesn't care how old we are, how unprepared we are, or even if we have kids, pets, and partners who need us and who we want to grow old with. We all know that planning for the future is something that we should do. We want our children, pets, and partners to be well taken care of if, God forbid, something ever happens to us. But we procrastinate. Why? Because the process is complicated and intimidating, and we don't know what we don't know. So I've made it my mission to be the kind of lawyer that helps empower and educate so you can make the best decisions for the people you love rather than leaving the most important parts of your legacy up to a judge who doesn't even know you. The little people in the middle and on the right are my kids. And when I learned that my children could be taken into the care of strangers, even temporarily, if something ever happened to me, I knew that I needed a plan. And I knew that I had to get the word out about the importance of planning for the ones that you love. So what is estate planning exactly? I hate that term because it's too legalese, so here is my description. It's a proactive plan you make about what happens to you if you're ever unable to make decisions for yourself, and what happens to your loved ones and your assets when you die. It's legally enforceable, and it allows you to state your wishes, have them honored, and leave the kind of legacy that you want to. It's best to think of it as a plan for life, not death, because once you've made these choices and made them legally enforceable, you can enjoy your life more fully and with peace of mind, knowing that you've done all you can for the people that you'll leave behind. Here's the thing, estate planning is something you do for your loved ones. It's for you, yes, but it's for them more because someone will have to take care of your stuff after you die. By making these choices right now, you're relieving a huge burden for them, and you're saving them a potentially expensive, lengthy mess to deal with. So estate planning is a roadmap for your business if you have one, and your family when you're gone. It's also for your comfort if your health ever declines to the point of incapacity. And by doing it now while you can, you'll have total assurance that everything will be handled smoothly when you're gone. But most people don't have a plan. Think about your own situation right now. Do you have a plan? Here are the common misconceptions that prevent people from doing estate planning. Most people think estate planning is only about money. False. It's about how much control you want over what happens after your death and how much control you want over your body if you become incapacitated. Most married people think that they don't need a plan because their spouse will get everything anyway. The truth is, a marriage certificate does not mean your spouse gets to make decisions for you, and your spouse may not get everything. It solely depends on what kind of assets you have and how they're owned. Here's an example. A woman realized after her husband's death that she didn't own her house outright. They owned it jointly while he was alive, but once he died without a plan because he mistakenly thought that she'd get all of his stuff, she owned the house with their 2 children. And she couldn't sell the house without their consent. Her daughter wouldn't give consent, so the woman who hasn't worked in decades is now facing foreclosure because she can't afford to keep up this big house on her own. And if you have a blended family, you can imagine how this might further complicate things. Finally, many people think that they can't afford to pay an attorney for estate planning. The truth here is that if you don't have a plan, the state has one for you, and it requires court. You've probably heard of probate court. Probate court can cost exponentially more than if you had planned in advance. Most probate cases that I've seen cost at least 2 times what it would have cost to plan ahead. And probate is public, meaning creditors and other creditors will be aware of what you had and what your family now has. So what does Missouri's plan look like? It involves going to court. First, all of your accounts are frozen. Someone pays funeral expenses and someone will pay your mortgage if you still have one. Otherwise, your house will be lost to foreclosure, and that's usually the biggest asset for people. This happens. A daughter couldn't afford to pay her mortgage and her father's after he died. So his house was foreclosed, and he had a lot of equity in his house. It was his only asset. All of that equity went to the bank, and surely this is not what he wanted for his daughter. There are many steps throughout the probate process with delays built in along the way, and the fees are speculative. The cheapest it will be is a percentage of your total assets dictated by statute, and that doesn't include court filing fees, attorney's fees, which can be significant, bond premiums, appraisal fees, and others. It also routinely takes a year or longer. And if you have kids, a judge who is a complete stranger to you and to them will decide who raises them without your input. Speaking of kids, they'll get whatever is left after the creditors are paid off at age 18 outright with no strings attached. How long would it have taken you to blow through all of the money you have now if you had gotten it when you were 18? You might be thinking, but I have a will. Even though a will gets you more control over who gets your stuff and what happens to your kids, wills go through probate too. Again, probate is very public and very expensive. Incapacity is also dealt with in probate court, so someone will have to file a case to be able to manage your money if you're too sick or injured to be able to do it yourself, and to make healthcare decisions if you can't communicate. That person will have to qualify to post a bond and make premium payments. Finally, many assets get missed because we don't share our financial circumstances with others. Does someone know where you do your banking, who holds your insurance policies, what brokerage firms you use? Would they know how to find your account numbers? If anything about the probate process concerns you, mark on your worksheet, I want to avoid probate. Most people don't share information about their assets with their loved ones. And when assets are missed after someone dies, that money goes to the government, specifically the Department of Unclaimed Property. In Missouri, there is $1 billion with a B, $1 billion in the Department of Unclaimed Property. So asset loss is a real problem. So now pull up your worksheet. If what I just said about your money going to the government concerns you, mark that on your worksheet. I want to ensure my assets do not go to the government. There is a way to avoid this. It's called a revocable living trust. It offers a lot of flexibility and avoids probate, saving time and money for you and your loved ones. Assets in a revocable living trust will go to your kids at the ages you want, and they can be fully protected from taxes, creditors, former spouses, even injury lawsuits. It does cover what to do in the event of your incapacity as well. And the way that I do it ensures that no accounts will get missed and go to the government. Instead, your nest egg will be available to your loved ones. This means that your funeral expenses and your mortgage will be paid by you, not your family. If you decide that you need a plan or you need to update your old one to make sure that it's still valid, you can choose to do it yourself on something like LegalZoom, or you can work with an attorney. Here's the difference between the normal way that attorneys work and the DIY method and what I do for my clients. Most attorneys use a one-size-fits-all approach, meaning that the plans they prepare are cookie cutter and may not take into account your family's particular situation. That leaves you open to the strong possibility that your plan won't work when you need it to, and that you paid real money for pieces of paper worth no more than the dust they're collecting on a shelf. By contrast, I'll make sure your plan works when you need it to, and the table on the right shows what needs to be done so that you have a plan that works. Here's one other feature I do that most lawyers don't: legacy planning. I found from my own experience after working with many clients that the most important things you leave behind are not financial. They're your stories, your humanity, the proof that you were alive once and that you touched other people's lives, your legacy. The photo on the left is of my grandparents celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. The photo on the right is a 5 generations photo. My great-grandfather, grandpa, dad, brother, and his son, me and my son. My grandpa passed in 2014, and I'm so thankful for photos like these because I can share them with my kids and tell them who Grandpa Great was. But I wish I had his voice, his words, telling them how much he loved them and how important family is, encouraging them to live life to the fullest, and, as he told me, to always remember that they can do anything they set their minds to. That would have been really special. So one of the things that I do when I work with clients is called a legacy interview. We sit down and chat for about an hour about childhood, family, funny memories, core values, anything that's important to you. And if you have small kids, you talk about your wishes for them as well as instructions to the people you've chosen to be their guardians about how you want them to be raised. This interview is on video, so your loved ones will be able to see and hear you for the rest of their lives. It's a special experience and clients love it. If anything I've said today has you thinking, would my assets end up going to the government? What would my family have to go through to take care of my affairs? I want to give you those answers in a family wealth planning session. There you'll tell me about your family dynamics, and I'll tell you about the law so that you'll know exactly what would happen to the people you love. You'll tell me about what about that works for you and what doesn't, so that you can make an informed decision about what plan is right for you and your loved ones. Normally, this session is $750 because I set aside up to 2 hours and it's a working meeting. But because you're here and because you've invested the time to learn more about planning, I'll make you a deal. If you do some homework ahead of time to gather up all of your asset information, which is critically important whether you work with me or not, so your money doesn't end up lost, I'll give you that session at no charge. And you can schedule your family wealth planning session today using the button under Offers tab. You can also check the box on your worksheet that says, I want to schedule a family wealth planning session. So I want to give you the planning session for free, but I want to one-up that. The number one reason people fail to plan is procrastination. I'm going to give you a $250 incentive to not procrastinate any longer because I know it's something that you want to do for your family anyway. You know how I know? Because you took the time to be here and learn. So I've created this golden ticket that represents this offer of $1,000 worth of legal services for free. All you need to do is claim it. You can either click the button in the Offers tab or check the box on your worksheet, and you'll also get a link in your email after this webinar is over. If you have any questions about whether planning is important for you to do right now or whether you can do legal planning on your own, I would love to answer those questions for you. If you decide to wait and do it later, sure, but do it before the ticket expires 1 week from now. Again, my job is to incentivize you to stop putting it off and to make it as easy as possible. Finally, a heads up, you'll see that when you book your family wealth planning session, the system will ask you for your credit card information. This is to hold your spot. It won't be charged unless you stand me up. I set aside up to 2 hours to work with you, and therefore I can only accommodate a handful of these sessions each month. So if you stand me up, your credit card will be charged the $750 fee because that spot could have gone to someone else. And also, if you don't do your homework, which again will make it super easy to do, we'll have to charge the fee because we'll have to do that during the meeting, and that is an additional service. So to summarize, your next steps are to complete and submit your worksheet and claim your golden ticket today to get $1,000 worth of free legal services. Or you can schedule a free 15-minute consult call with me on my website or by writing it on your worksheet. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to meeting you and to supporting you to make informed, empowered choices for you and for your loved ones. Bye for now.